I enjoy using Anchor podcasting services. For one, it's an easy setup. Secondly, you can do everything on the same platform, which includes record and then add music to your podcast if you like. And once your podcast has been saved, you can then distribute it to other platforms with the click of a button. And did I mention that it's free? You couldn't ask for anything better than this. Thank you for tuning into Bringing the Heat with Regina Weston. Here we inspire and deal with topics that matter. Stay tuned. Bringing the Heat will now release new episodes bi-weekly on Wednesdays. So mark your calendars. Hold up and wait a minute, Bringing the Heat listeners. To find out about all things Regina, visit my website at www.reginaweston.com. There you can purchase all my books and learn more about my nonprofit organization, which is Mending Hearts, Women Healing Women. And if you would like to support this podcast, you can do so by using my Cash App, $RWeston252. Now let's get into it. Today I want to talk about entanglements. And there's a quote that reads, "If the past is not resolved, future relationships will suffer. Let your heart heal before you open the door to another," by Leon Brown. And that leads me into this. Why do people start new relationships when they aren't over the past relationship? Why do people do that? If we haven't concluded our relationship and we just need some time apart, why bring somebody else in the mix? Because it caused confusion. And this is what happened. This young lady was dating this young man. He was very abusive to the degree that she had to wind up taking out a protective order against him. That was the first thing. She meets another young man, gets in a relationship with him. Although she's taken out a protective order against her ex, she's still in love with him. She still cares about him. She's not completely done with that relationship. If that be the case, why try to enter a new relationship? Because of her actions, someone is dead. She brought someone in an entanglement, and it cost that young man his life. You know why? I told you that she was in an abusive relationship. She wind up telling the abusive mate about the current relationship, what this gentleman had going on for him, his profession. He was a correction officer. Anybody know that when someone is a correction officer or a police officer, that is not news that you should publicize, because a lot of people have issues with people in law enforcement. If you have been locked up, most likely you have had a negative experience with a correction officer or a police officer. So I'm wondering, what was her motive behind telling her ex-boyfriend or the current boyfriend information? That caused confusion. She wound up breaking off the relationship with the current man and getting back in a relationship with the abuser. Now she went from a good guy, we're just going to call him Jack. Jack was a good guy. He was a correction officer. He was an upstanding, fine young man. He helped in the community. He helped mentoring young boys. He stood for something. But she would rather go back to a abusive relationship where she was getting beat up to the degree that she had to take out a restraining order against that young man. I get it. I'm a domestic violence advocate. I get the mindset. However, I personally believe that we all have to be held accountable for our actions. If she wanted to get back in that relationship with that young man, that's her business. But when you bring somebody else into an entanglement and they have no clue on what you have been dealing with, and you don't share information can cause them harm. We already know that men are territorial. Some men more than others don't know how to deal with their emotions when they feel as though they are losing control of someone they deem or say or supposed to love. Because being in an abusive relationship, baby, that is not love. Love do not hurt. So we already know that that person has some issues on his interpretation on love. Because when you love someone, you nurture them. You don't cause mental or bodily harm to that individual. So we already know that he was a ticking time bomb. And then to add fuel on the fire, she went and told this young man, oh, he's a correction officer. And oh, he has a arsenal of guns in his house. Now, the abusive mate, Alex, had nothing going on for himself. So what did he decide to do? He decided to break into Jack's house, steal his guns. He also had concluded that he was going to take Jack's life out of jealousy. Jack did nothing to him, didn't know him from a can of paint, but an entanglement cost him his life. Isn't that sad? The message today is a simple one. If you are in a relationship and you and that person break up and you still have love for that individual, make sure you resolve your past with that individual before you move on to someone else. Don't bring nobody into no foolishness. Don't cause someone emotional harm or physical harm, because you never know how your ex-partner is going to act or feel because they feel like someone is on their turf. And that's not just for men, because you got some women out here that's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs too. And when they men have moved on, they don't know how to let go. You need to resolve all of your issues. Make sure you're out of that person's system. Make sure that person is out of your system before you bring anybody else into the mix. This is not an isolated incident. Many women and men are losing their lives because of the actions of other people, unknowingly and some knowingly. You know, because sometimes people do stuff to make the other person jealous, to let them know, oh, I can move on, I can get him, I can get her. And you basically playing with somebody else's life because you know you really don't want them. Or maybe you're with them and they just serve a temporary purpose. Don't do that. Don't do that. This individual has a mother, has a father, has family, have friends that care about them. Now this young man is no longer on this earth, all because she was playing games. Because basically that's what she was doing. She went and dropped the restraining order. She allowed the abusive person to come back into her life. Then she became a news reporter and with a mouth of diarrhea and exposed all Jack's personal information. I don't see the reason for that. I don't see the purpose for that. I don't even understand why Alex had to know that she met Jack. If you wanted to get back with Alex, all you had to tell Jack was, listen, I no longer want to be in this relationship, and move on. Because once Jack saw that she was moving kind of slick in the streets, he backed off anyway. He wasn't crazy. This man had things going on for him. He knew that he would get over her and he would move on with his life and get with someone that would want him the way that he wanted them. Why didn't she allow that man to have that freedom? I really do question people's motives when they do stuff like that. Don't tell somebody you want a relationship when you just want a booty call. Don't tell somebody you want a relationship when you still thinking about Jack and you still thinking about Jill. It's unfair to the individual that you are bringing into your life. Don't do that. We have people in this world that are very selfish. Don't be selfish. It's a heartbreaking story. It's a true story, but it's not an isolated story. This happens every single day. When you get in a new relationship, you do not have to give your present mate information about your past mates and your past experiences or who you was dealing with. Just start anew. It's like when you start a document in Word and you want to start afresh. All you do is click on the tab that says new and it gives you a blank canvas to start over. That's what a new relationship is. It's a blank canvas to start over. Just start over. On that canvas, it's nothing up there. Start over. And then write the dialogue as you go along. But don't come into somebody else's life with a whole script, a drama, and turn their world upside down to the degree that they lose their own life because they're trying to love you. It's not fair. Don't do that. Now I'm going to leave you with this. Never let your past experiences harm your future. Your past can't be altered, and your future doesn't deserve the punishment. Let's do better, women and men. Resolve your past, and your future relationships will not suffer. Now, if you would like to support this podcast, you can do so by using my Cash App at $RWeston252. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast, like it, share it, along with your thoughts on this episode. And dear hearts, keep it classy. Smooches. Now, until we meet again, go and grab yourself a mirror. Look in the mirror and say to yourself, I am loved, I am unique, and I am valuable. Now give yourself a kiss. That's a kiss from me to you. Know that I love you and I got your back. To listen to this podcast, you can go to Anchor.fm, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, and other sites where podcasts are available.